Welcome in to the CFR show, CFR podcast. We are back again. We were here yesterday talking about Julio Jones. Now today we are here again talking about the Bills running game. Are the Bills ready to run? We know that there has been talked about many times the struggles of the Bills running game, and I have two of my compadres with me to break this down and talk about the Bills running game. I have James Mallory with me, former NFL running back, and I have one of the newest CFR recruits, Travis Blakesley. Did I say that right? Blakesley? All right.
You got it.
Travis Blakesley with us to help us understand what actually went wrong in the running game and what can be done to fix it, who should be featured. We're going to answer all of these burning questions. We're going to try to answer all these burning questions today as we get into what went wrong or went right with the Bills running game. So I want to start with what do you actually think went wrong with the Bills running game? Because I went back and I looked at the Bills run blocking grades, and I had a chance to actually, watch all of the run blocking snaps the first 5 weeks of the season, and I thought it was like pretty decent, run blocking. But after actually looking at, how they graded out and how they actually performed, it was actually piss poor. The first three grades that they had, three run blocking grades they had, was 63.1 week 1, 51.1 week 2, and then 59.0 in week 3. So, Mallory, we're going to start with you since you are the former NFL running back. What did you see out of the Bills, running game that was the biggest issue to you?
To me, it was lack of chemistry. With the weird offseason and how everything was structured last offseason, what unfortunately having to deal with COVID virus, there was no OTAs, no mini camps. So, you're not able to get those reps. You miss those reps. Then it's chemistry that goes there with the running game. Everybody got to be in the flow. You got to understand, how to set things up. That's the main thing with me. And then being able to get live reps of the running game. You can't. The only way you can really get a good feel for the running game is to get those live reps and really, really get after it. And unfortunately, the way the offseason was set up, it just wasn't realistic. And also, I think a lot of the live reps was put a lot of energy and a lot of focus in training camp, what I think was probably put towards the passing game, because this organization really needed to see, okay, is Josh Allen our guy or not? I think that's what, they really, really, really put a lot of time and effort in to making sure that passing game wasn't a dud. They needed to know if Josh Allen was that guy. And then when that happens, the running game suffered. And then, obviously we were a pass first team. So with all of that together, I think that caused the running game to suffer. Do we got the guys? Yes, I believe we do. But now my main thing is I think it was just chemistry and just those reps is what caused the running game to suffer in 2020.
Travis, what did you see out of the running game that you thought was the biggest glaring issue?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was a culmination of a lot of things. It was an imperfect storm, so to speak, with really going pass heavy. Obviously, the lack of an off season, like James said. Also, we didn't have our 5 guys out there that we were supposed to start the season with. We didn't even line up one snap with all of them. So it really boils down to chemistry. And I mean, these guys, whether it was Moss or Singletary, they wouldn't even get to the line of scrimmage before they got hit. So, is that chemistry? Most likely, 4 guys doing the job, one guy missing an assignment. It definitely boils down to the offensive line. To me, I have no problem rolling with Moss and Singletary and, with the additions that we have. So yeah, I'm definitely going to put it on the offensive line for a multitude of reasons.
And to your point, Travis, like you said, I mean, the offensive line missed a lot of blocks, and it was supported by the the grades that I gave you guys, the first couple weeks of the season. So, therefore, who now as we shift to the running backs, which running back did you see, despite the lack of blocking, who did you think was the most effective? Now, the PFF grades say that Zach Moss was the most effective. But Mallory, who did you see was the most effective?
I think they both had their moments. It's kind of hard to say. Um, you know, usually when you have an offensive line that's really suffering with chemistry, usually the power guy is the one that's probably going to grade out better because he's right there. Singletary is more of a patient guy, setting up his blocks, and obviously he's going to grade out worse in those type of situations. If it was me, I would make Singletary that guy, and then kind of make Moss to complimentary guy. I think they're a perfect match together. I mean, I think the front office did a great job of pairing those two together. But I will say Singletary is probably he can make people miss in the phone booth. Zach Moss, he runs the ball extremely hard. He's a very powerful runner. But my guy is I probably have to say Singletary is the one I'm gonna put my money on.
Trav, what did you say?
Well, I mean, I guess to your question, I feel like Moss was more effective just because of that style. I saw him hit the hole quicker. He's more decisive. Although I do think that turf toe really slowed him down because I was waiting to see him. We talked about the business decisions. He had that quote, and I was waiting for it. I liked what he was doing, but come to hear the turf toe was probably a big issue getting that. Putting the best foot forward. But I do think Singletary needs to have more carries because of his style of running. He is a rhythm, especially being able to, set up his blocks, set up his runs. He needs to have, more than, a series here, a series there to really get cooking. And I think we saw it a lot in 2019 when Frank Gore fell off the cliff. Singletary had he averaged 5.1 yards a carry, which was good for second in the league with backs who had over 150 carries. Like next to Lamar. So that didn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah, I didn't, like I said before, and like I started with the show, I did not expect Devin Singletary to be on PFF's top running backs list, but there he was at number 22. And I mean, Devin Singletary has been the back that has been getting a lot of flack, as the guy who hasn't been as good, but I don't really agree with that at all, and the numbers don't really agree with that or support that at all either. Mallory kind of touched on this. Mallory, I wanted your thoughts on what schemes do you think would suit both these running backs the best, because we know both these running backs are running backs that can make people miss. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss both have a high rate of forcing missed tackles. And based on what you were saying about Singletary, it would sound like zone running would probably be most beneficial for both of them. But as a guy that has been in the trenches and has executed these schemes, which scheme do you feel like would be the best for both these guys?
I think it'd definitely be a zone scheme. Zach Moss, I think he's versatile enough to be able to adjust to that. I think he's going to be a really, really good running back in this league. I think Devin Singletary is a zone blocking type of guy. And also, let's not forget, last year he played without a fullback. I mean, I know Reggie Gilliam he is a fullback. They played him more like an H-back type of role. But, I think that was an adjustment as well, because don't forget, we have used the fullback in the past, and that's something I think people was overlooked. People wanted to throw away the fullback, get rid of fullback, get rid of fullback, get rid of fullback. Well, let's not forget, in a lot of those situations, the fullback would have cleaned up a lot of those messes that the offensive line created, and that could have opened up some lanes for Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. But I'm thinking if we get a zone blocking scheme in here, get these guys comfortable, get the line in sync, I think we have an athletic enough line to be able to move forward with running a zone blocking scheme. So I think that's the way to go with the personnel that we got. We get that going. I mean, we have a super smart center, Mitch Morris. Don't forget Deion Dawkins is one of the most athletic, left tackles in the NFL. John Feliciano, I think he gets the job done. I'm a Cody Ford guy. I think he can get the job done. So, let's roll with it. Darrell Williams, he's no slouch. So I think that'd be the best scheme for the Buffalo Bills in 2021 is to go into that zone blocking scheme.
So Travis, what say you about the schemes, and what schemes do you think the Bills should be running? Because I have some grades here, but I want to hear your thoughts first before I go ahead and say that.
I think the cut of Quentin Spain was telling. I think that really solidified in my head that we're transitioning more to a zone blocking scheme. And I think obviously Singletary, I think that's the perfect match for him. And listening to Zach Moss speak, he said he was comfortable with doing both. He did both at Utah. So I definitely think that's the way we're going, and then to double down on it, the offensive line acquisitions that we got seem like guys who are good in space. So not only do I prefer the zone blocking and how it complements our pass first offense, I think that's the way we are going.
Yeah, and to look at a lot of our key linemen zone blocking grades, Daryl Williams zone blocking grade, run blocking grade is 86.5, and then Deion Dawkins zone blocking grade is 71.2. And then you had John Feliciano, who graded well in both aspects. He was actually the Bills' highest graded run blocker. So I mean, it would just be, it would go to the strengths of the O line to run a zone blocking scheme. And I think Mitch Morris was the worst run blocker on the Bills O line. And so, Mallory, you brought up Cody Ford, so we'll start there real quick. What do you think his outlook is for 2021? Do you think that he will get a starting spot, or do you think he's going to have to fight tooth and nail to get on the field? Because he has not been able to stay healthy. And he has not been able. And when he has been on the field, he has not been great. They brought in Forrest Lamb, and he tweeted something out. Cody Ford did that about I see this or I see you. So he knows that his time is. He need to get it in gear. So do you think Forrest Lamp is going to start, or you think Cody Ford is going to lock down that guard position?
I'm a big Cody Ford fan because I believe he can do it. What people with Bills fans got to realize is that he hasn't been healthy. Obviously that's an important part of it, but a lot of Bills fans are very, 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 very impatient. The NFL is very, very hard. You just don't come in there and just, okay, I'm a starter. It doesn't work that way. It's not Madden. It's real life here. So these guys got to come in and adjust to NFL football, professional football. You don't have class. You don't have study hall. This is your job now. This is what you do. You're coming and playing against guys who've been doing that for 5 years. You got to adjust to it. So I think he can do it. Now if he's not healthy, then you got to move. You got to make a decision here. Because this guy comes in healthy. I think he can more than get the job done at left guard. Forrest Lamp, let's see what he can do as well. I don't think he's just not gonna lay down and just give Cody Ford to start a job. He's gonna have to work for it. And with that happen, I think they're all going to be better off with it. I think it's just that competition brings out the best. Whoever folds in that's just not our guy. So the best man will win. Cream will rise to the top. I think it will be Cody Ford. If it is Forrest Lamp, hey, it is what it is. I think we're in a good situation. So I think that left guard position is going to be filled by either Forrest Lamp or Cody Ford. Hey, who knows? They may move John Feliciano back over there. Forrest Lamp win it. They might move Forrest Lamp to the right guard and put Feliciano back to the left. Who knows? So it's a lot of different things that they can do to kind of get the offensive line exactly where they want it. And let's not forget, Feliciano wasn't 100% at all last year. The man tore his pec. And people was forgetting about that. Like, oh, Feliciano this. Oh, he had a rough game against the Chiefs. The man tore his pec. Look at the recovery time and with people that come back from. The man came back and played after that. I mean, that takes a lot of guts. So I think that with these guys healthy, being able to have a full offseason, the offensive line is going to be greatly improved. And I'm excited for it. But I'm thinking Cody Ford come through with the W in that job.
And going back to your initial point, your initial thesis, Mallory, you said, it's continuity. Continuity is what matters. And Zach Moss, in one of his interviews that he did this offseason, mentioned that same thing. Like we didn't have time, to get together. And both guard spots were the spots that were most rotated, on the Bills O line. So Travis, what say you about both guard spots? Who do you think takes those spots?
Yeah, just to touch on the John Feliciano. I mean, you're right, James, that to tear your pec in the off season where you didn't have a full off season where you're training, I mean, this guy pushes people around for a living. Could you imagine not being able to lift for months on end and then going in there and still playing admirably? I think that's, he did get pushed around a lot in the AFC Championship game, but I mean, like you said, the dude tore his pec. I don't think he was ready to play as if, he had a full off season. But yeah, as far as the Lamp Ford battle, that's what I love about the offseason, because I don't honestly, I think they're both capable, and may the best man win. I am a little worried with Cody Ford as far as maturity. Could his injuries play into his lack of being able to keep himself in proper shape? I don't know. Again, I'm just spitballing there, but hopefully it seems like Coach and Bean are kind of taking a shot across his bow, telling him, in a few words or without saying anything, like, all right, man, this is your last shot. So he's definitely capable. I think guard is his true position, and I think he was kind of done dirty by being a tackle to start off with, because frankly, if he was healthy and he started at guard from day one, I don't think we were having this conversation.
Yeah, Cody Ford and the Forrest Lamp battle should definitely be interesting to see. I think with a full off season, with a scheme definition, I'll say, with the identity being had, I think this Bills running game will be a lot better. So with that, the Bills have also brought in, different running backs, and one of the running backs that they brought in was Matt Breida. And they also have Antonio Williams, as I've mentioned to both of you guys. So I guess my question is does Matt Breida actually have a realistic shot at winning some snaps and some carries? Because as we've talking about scheme, that's the scheme that Matt Breida has, excelled in the most, with that zone blocking scheme coming from the San Francisco 49ers with, Kyle Shanahan and that outside zone system. He has excelled in that. So what do you see the outlook being for a guy like Matt Breida on this roster, Mallory?
I think he could provide something different that we don't have with Zach Moss and Singletary. But I think his carries are going to be few and far between. I just don't see it. I know we do need the speed element. I get it. And there are some Bills fans. Once again, it's like they play just being honest with you, it's like Madden. This isn't Madden, this real life. So, you know, they have unrealistic expectations for him. And that's just my opinion. I think that he can be a valuable player. He can provide us something, a few snaps a game, the ability to break big runs. But honestly, I think it'll be Singletary and the Moss show, unless somebody gets hurt. Unfortunately, let's hope not. But I mean, he's not a bum. I think he has a good chance to make the team, obviously. But he's going to have to come to training camp and ball out. If he has an okay training camp, he's going to be out of here. He's going to have to come in there and ball out and really show big playability and be able to stick around. Otherwise, I mean, everything else he has, we already have on the roster. Only thing that separates him is that speed from the other two, and he's going to have to really come do that. It kind of troubled me that he couldn't get more carries in Miami. You got beat out in Miami. I don't know why a lot of people think he's just going to come here and just be this superhero type of dude. Not everybody, but some people were talking. I'm like, hey, he's not a bum. He's not a bad player, but let's have realistic expectations for this guy. Can he come provide a spark? Absolutely. Can he be a productive player in a limited role? Absolutely. But let's not forget, man, we have two, what I believe is really good running backs, could be some really good running backs in Singletary and Moss. So I don't see it happening. Christian Wade, I think it's a great story. He'll have some great plays in the preseason, but making the roster, I just don't see it happening. And Tywan Jones, the man's a savage on special teams. If you get rid of him on special teams, you have a huge void, and that's going to be a problem. So I think, the running back room is kind of tight.
And you guys both, with Mallory, you brought up a great point with Breida not being able to get, carries in Miami. So it's like, why do you think that he's gonna automatically come over here, and all of a sudden beat out Moss and Singletary, who actually are two of the better, young backs in this league. And you brought up another point that I want both you guys to speak. I want Travis, I want you to go first. Why do you think Bills Mafia keeps clamoring for a running back with speed, 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 speed? You got Zach Moss saying, hey, the issues with the running game were about continuity. But you got the Mafia saying, well, if we had a faster running back, the run blocking wouldn't need to be as good, da-da-da-da-da. So Travis, I want you to go first, and I want you to, talk about, how you feel about that. And then Mallory, I want you to drop the knowledge on the people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a case of wanting what you don't have. That's all with that. But with Breida himself, I really like him as a player. His first 3 years, he averaged almost 5 yards a carry, 25 or so catches a season. He's young. He's got that lateral quickness. I just feel like even if he makes a team, he's not going to be active. They're going to activate Taiwan Jones. They're only going to bring dress three guys. And we already know Moss and Singletary are going to be 2, and Taiwan Jones is going to be the 3rd. But what I do think that some people might not realize is if we cut McKenzie, I think he can fill that gadget void as far as the pop passes, the jet sweep. So he has a little versatility there if we don't keep McKenzie around. But yeah, even if we do, I don't see him active, barring injury.
Yeah, Mallory, I want you to tell us about the speed thing. Like, why is Bills Mafia clamoring like, hey, we need a speed back? Does a speed back actually make a difference if the run blocking isn't as good as it needs to be? So, like, if we had the speed for a zone blocking system, does it make that big of a difference? Like, why is Bills Mafia saying if we have more speed on the field, the run blocking wouldn't need to be as good?
No, that's right. You got to understand how to read blocks and set up blocks. You can run if that's the case, all the top running backs in the league would just be blazing fast, right? Look at a lot of the most successful running backs. They're not overly fast dudes. You got to understand how to set up blocks. You got to understand angles. You got to understand how to run the football. A lot of people don't understand how to run the football. Me coaching, usually my worst backs are the guys with a ton of speed. Because why? They usually try to rely on that speed to bail them out of everything instead of being patient. Patience is the most important thing. If a guy don't have patience, it means nothing. The speed means nothing. The defense, them dudes are wicked fast. They're not fast. They are wicked fast. Them defensive backs, those linebackers, those safeties are wicked fast. And I don't know where people are like, the speed thing. Yeah, it's good to have it. Dudes in the NFL aren't just going to let you run by them. They're not just going to say, okay, this dude fast, run by me. There's not many Tariq Hills. There's not many of them dudes out here. If that was the case, if his speed made him that much of a problem, he never would have left San Fran. He wouldn't have bounced around. Because those type of dudes, they don't just walk out on the free agent market. They don't just walk for nothing. We wouldn't have been able to get him for a bag of peanuts. If it was that elite, then he would be wrapped up somewhere making $8-9 million a year to make plays with his speed. It's a reason why he was available to us at the price tag we got him at. It can be used if used in the right way, but it has to be a limited role. There's obviously some flaws in this game. If he's this blazing fast dude who can just run by people and make plays, if that's the case, we have another Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson was that dude. He understood when to use the speed. You got to understand slow to, fast through. You got to understand you got to set the blocks up. If you are too fast, you don't allow your blocks to develop. Chris Johnson was a master at that. I love watching Chris Johnson though. Because he ran a 4.2, but he understood when to be patient, set things up, and then when he got in the open field, he turned it up. They don't just hand the ball to somebody and say run fast. This isn't sandlot football, people. People just get a little carried away. It's kind of ridiculous. People just think just because he's fast, that's what we're missing. No, we're missing a playmaker, and that's why I was pushing for Travis Etienne. We need a playmaker back there, somebody you can get the ball to him and he can make plays. He's elusive. You can get him in open space. He can do a whole bunch of different things. Matt Breida is not that type of guy. He's fast, yes, but he's not that dude. people are making him out to be. It sounds good, but it's just not the case.
And I'm glad that you touched on the whole speed thing because that was one of the biggest things I was saying. I was like, just because you got a back that's fast, that doesn't necessarily make him good. And it's funny that you say, the backs that you have the most trouble with while you coach is the speed backs because they rely on everything they use their speed for pretty much everything. And if you take that a step further and you go to wide receiver, it's the same thing. If that was the case, Tavon Austin and John Ross would be the nicest receivers in the league. Just because they got speed. So it's more fundamentals. It's more nuance than just being fast. Like you said, you have to set up blocks. You have to see where these blocks are going. If it's a zone scheme, I have to wait till that center gets that reach block across on that one tech so I can go and punch that hole, or I got to hit this cutback lane. It's a lot more than that. So I mean,
like
I'm glad
let's be real, EJ, not because dudes ain't just ripping off 80 and 70-yard runs every week.
I said that same thing.
Rare.
Exactly.
It's very rare. People, man, get off of Madden and let's get to real football here.
Right.
People are just ripping off long runs. That's a very rare thing in the NFL. There's dudes who have great careers that may go off to have maybe 5 60-yard runs in their whole career. And they're acting like dudes just supposed to rip them off weekly. That's just ridiculous.
And the comments are kind of leading me into my next segment. And so, Travis, I want you to touch on this. How do you think Brian Dable is going to be a key component of this run game? Because I don't know if anyone knows, and I'll keep saying it, the Bills ran the second least amount in the league. Now, I understand that they are a prolific passing team. We all get it. They had the 4th highest graded offense in the NFL last year, and if I'm not mistaken, the 3rd highest, passing offense last year. They were prolific. But as you get better, as you play better competition, you are going to need to be more balanced. I said that before the Chiefs game. That was the reason that they weren't going to beat the Chiefs, because they're not balanced. They are not able to beat teams in a multiplicity of ways. So, Travis, what do you think Brian Dable should do? I know I don't want to word it like that, but what do you think Brian Dable should do in terms of this running game and in terms of his play calling? Do you think he needs to call more runs? Do you think he needs to just do what he's been doing and call them when he needs to? What do you think his outlook should be?
Well, I think I know what his outlook is going to be, and I don't think it's going to change, to be truthful. But what I would like to see is something that we saw more in 2019, where we saw a lot more play action, which inherently is going to mean, you're going to run the ball a little bit more. There was games, think of Seattle, where the fact that Pete Carroll thought we were going to run the ball was ridiculous, because Josh was just dropping back play after play after play, no play action, nothing. I would like to see play action mixed in a little bit more, pass to set up the run and finish off games like we did against the Steelers during the regular season. That was the first time we got a glimpse of like a good 4-minute offense in a long time. So, run later, let's not get Cole Beasley's leg broken at the end of a game. They definitely pick your spots more and mix it up a little bit more, but I'm not sure if we are going to see that.
So, Mallory, as a person that has played in the league and being able to give a unique insight into play calling, where do you think Brian Dable's play calling was lacking in terms of the running game, and do you think it was adequate? Do you think it was okay? I mean, like I'm interested to hear, what do you think about his play calling choices?
As a play caller, all I want to say, I want somebody to be who you are, because whenever you go to being something you're not, you get in trouble. So if that's who you are, Brian Dable, stick to who you are. Don't try to create stuff to please fans or anybody else. And I'm telling you, that's why Sean McDermott isn't getting on them. Like, you run the ball more, run the ball more. Don't just run it to run it. You set up things. You do you. You study film for 60, 70 hours the week getting prepared for this team. Not the fans, for the most part. They're not the ones studying it. They just look at the screen and say, okay, run to the right, run to the left, or run, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. Do you. I don't have a problem with what he's doing, because he's doing him. And you could tell he's very, very comfortable calling these plays. And that's why our offense was so successful. And I'm fine with that. Would I like to see him run the ball more? Yes, but that's me. but I don't want him getting out of character. And next thing you know, our offense turns into a clown show because we're running the ball a lot more, and that's just out of his character. If this is what you are and this is what you do, and it got us to the AFC Championship game with an injured Stephon Diggs, an injured Cole Beasley, 2 of our offensive linemen beat up. Dude, with no running game, and we got to the AFC Championship game that we did have a realistic chance to win it. I mean, come on now. I mean, just do you. I really didn't have a problem with it. I'm an offensive guy, and I kind of just let flow. My offensive coordinator in college, he coaches high-level college football now. And, we always seen eye to eye because I just always wanted him. I'm like, Coach Likens, he going to be him. And whatever that is, I'm going to ride with it because it's going to make us all successful. And it's made the team successful. When did we see an offense like we had last year? I'm 33 years old. I don't remember it. We never have. So now people starting to nitpick the best offense we've ever had in Buffalo Bills history. Let that man be him. If that means he run the ball 20% of the times, that means he run the ball 20% of the time, and we got to live with it. Now, as a running back, my mindset would be, okay, I know I'm gonna have 10 touches this game. One of these things I'm gonna force him to give me the ball. That's my mindset. I'm gonna start ripping off runs to the point where he's going to have to give me the ball. That's the mindset I will have as a running back. That's the approach I will have. I can't just sit there and say, well, damn, man, I ain't have 25 touches today. That's why I ain't get loose. That's not the excuse. You got to make it do what it do with your touches. Then not having the ball enough, that's not the excuse. When you gotta make plays with the opportunities you have. If it's 10 carries, so be it. Make it do what it do. If it's 5 carries, make the most of those 5 carries, and you be an asset to the offense. So I just want Brian Daboll to do that, and whatever opportunities running backs get, we got to make it happen. I don't think giving the ball to them 30 times a game is the solution. I don't think running the ball more is the solution. Let Brian Daboll be him, but the running backs have to be more productive. You got the same amount of carries. But let's see, check this out. If they all had 5 yards of carry, we'd be having this conversation. Nobody would be saying, well, Daboll should run the ball more. No, because the running backs would have produced more, and the offense would have produced more in those clutch situations where they did run the football. We wouldn't be having this conversation. It falls on the running backs. That's how I would take the ownership. I'd be like, okay, I have to make more plays. So that's what it is. It's not Daboll running the ball more. Now you're taking away from our passing game, which is one of the top 3 in the NFL. So you stop passing the ball more, which is the top 3 in the NFL, one of the top wide receiver quarterback combinations, just to run the ball more. It makes no sense. That's dumb. Like it makes no sense. You have to be more productive at the running back position. Offensive line running backs got to get in sync and just make it do what it do. Period.
So, based on what you're saying, you're more of the, we need to run it effectively type methodology. And so, again, taking this another step further. So we know that, again, the Bills have made the AFC Championship. They played the Chiefs along the same lines of the running game. Travis, what do you think the Bills' best opportunity to beat the Chiefs is to beat the Chiefs next time around? Now, I only asked that question, and I'm interested to hear what both of you guys say. I only asked that question because in the draft, the Bills said, "Hey, we're gonna beef up our pass rush. We're gonna throw the kitchen sink at it, and that's the remedy." That's what the Bills are saying. EJ's remedy is, if the defense isn't adequate enough, let's keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. Let's play a Brady-type game where there's going to be a lot of short throws, a lot of short concepts, running the ball more or effectively, whichever one you want to say. That is my methodology, of how to beat the Chiefs. So, everything I feel like the Bills need to do should be with the Chiefs in mind. And we know the Bills lost to the Chiefs twice last year. And the first time, the Chiefs ran the ball down the Bills' throat. And my only point is, if the Bills were able to do something like that, be as multiple as the Chiefs are, I think they would have a better shot at beating the Chiefs. But that is my methodology. But I want to hear what your methodology is, to attack the Chiefs.
Well, I'm glad that they didn't go the route of trying to cover those guys, because I just don't think we're gonna find we're looking for a leprechaun to cover Hill and Kelsey. So I mean, getting the pass rush is definitely definitely a solution on defense, but that's only half the story. I mean, both those games, our offense didn't show up. They didn't play. Our passing game specifically did not play to the caliber it did all season, nor did it play to the caliber that it needed to win. Yeah, there were injuries, but they played fine the 2 weeks prior. So on offense, I just think that you got to execute. I liked how James was saying Dayball, be you. And that's who he is. And I think he's very comfortable in that. He doesn't care that he threw 17 out of 19 passes to open up this, a game or, what have you. So I just think it comes down to execution on offense. I think people are assuming that the gap is a lot wider than it is. I just think, we didn't execute and we didn't play up to the standards that we saw all season. I mean, this team was incredible on offense, and just because it was the Chiefs, I don't think they were really doing anything that we didn't see. It's just, either we choked or we just didn't execute.
Yeah, like I said, I saw like a lot of people after that game saying, "Hey, if we could have ran the ball more," namely me and other people, if we ran the ball more, we could have beat the Chiefs. Or if you run the ball more, you could have kept the offense on the sideline. Because remember, the Chiefs scored on every possession but one. And so Mallory, I'm interested to hear what do you think going forward the Bills' remedy to beating the Chiefs should be.
Might sound corny, but be the best version of yourself. When you get caught up trying to play somebody else's game, you're never going to win. You're never going to win that. You can win by being the best version of yourself and making adjustments, being able to adjust on the fly. But you got to be the best version of yourself. So whoever the Buffalo Bills are, we got to be a better version of that. We can't be a better version of a team chasing the Chiefs because we're just going to be another team to come up short. It's not going to happen. So what we got to do is just got to be a better version of ourselves. What you got to do is get some more athletes out there on the edge at defensive end. Do what you do, but upgrade there. Now we got better athletes on the edge now. Nobody can say are we not better on the edge. I believe we're better athletically on the edge. Now are they going to be better football players? Now we got to see what's going to happen when we get out there and put the pads on. But I think we have better athletes. I think with AJ having another year, I like Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison. I do. I'm fans of them. And then we have the two rookies. Both of those guys look like they can be special. If them boys come in and they give us some energy and some juice off the edge, we're having a whole different conversation. Like this whole conversation we're having is irrelevant, because we could say the DBs didn't hold up. Yeah, I mean, dude, who's going to run with Tyreek Hill? Who's going to be able to check Travis Kelce consistently? Who? They're elite for a reason. So the way to beat that is, okay, let's beef up the pass rush. Okay, we have two defensive ends who are 6'5", 6'6", where, okay, if they can't generate a pass rush, now they got extremely long wingspans and they can get into the passing lanes, where now you got more batted balls. Now, people not taking that into account, they're forgetting that. Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison are both 6'2". So their wingspans aren't the same as Greg Rousseau's, who's 6'6", with a 6'9", 6'10" wingspan. That's a totally different thing. If he can't get a pass rush, it's going to look totally different when he can say, okay, I can't get to the quarterback. I'm going to put my hands on disrupt this passing lane. It's a lot different. You get what I'm saying? So I think that the gap isn't as big as what people think. I think when you lose, people kind of tend to blow things up. Obviously, there's things that, we can be better at, of course. But I think people blow things up when you lose. We lost by 2 touchdowns. Am I correct? I think it was 2 touchdowns we lost that game. Anyways, the game was within reach. It wasn't a blowout. We didn't go get hit by 30 points or something ridiculous like that. But, I just think that, we got to get a better pass rush. We got to obviously run the football better. I think we're right there. I don't think the gap is as big as what people think. I'm not tripping. I think we got better. Did the Chiefs get better? Probably. But I think we definitely got better. So I'm excited to see it. I think these running backs they're going to answer the bell. They're going to answer it.
And as we bring this to a close, I want to hear what both of you guys' outlooks are for this running game in 2021. What do you think we will see from the Bills running game in 2021? So Travis, you started, and Mallory, I want you to have the last word.
Well, specifically speaking for the backs, not necessarily the running game, but I'm looking for them to block better. That's one of my big things. I need them to be Josh Allen's bodyguard. Also, when the ball gets thrown to them, you got to catch it, man. That drop by Singletary was rough. He was relatively short-handed, but he's had some drops. One thing also that we didn't really touch on is we got the best short yardage back in the league with Josh Allen, so that's with all the doom and gloom that goes on about the Bills running game. I feel like that gets left out a lot of the times, but I'm looking for us to transition to more of a zone run game, and hopefully the continuity of an off season and keeping this offensive line healthy, which it wasn't last year, will be able to give us more sustainability in the run game and to really lean on it at the end of a game. We don't need to be throwing it all game long. If we got a lead, that's where I think we need to run more, is at the end of the game.
Mallory?
I think the running game is going to be greatly improved this year. I think we're going to have a lot of success with it. I think a lot of people are overreacting, which I think is fair. But I think they're overreacting a little bit. I think it's just going to come down to really reps. Once you see it, they're able to get the live reps, and we get some consistency up front, I think we'll be greatly improved. I think Antonio Williams is a practice squad guy. I think they'll put him on the practice squad if he make it through the waiver. And, he's the guy that if with the bruising style that Moss has, he's hurt for 2 games, you call him up. And I think he could be productive in that role. Will it be something down the line? I would love for it to happen. But, we're talking like right now, I think he's that practice squad guy. We'll see what Matt Breida brings us to the table. I think he provides that speed, what everybody says. But, we'll see. I'm just not as high on that signing as a lot of people are, because once again, if you have a guy with elite speed and he can ball a little bit, usually he don't bounce around on teams. That just doesn't happen. You find roles for that guy, that speed in your offense, and he usually will stick with that team for quite some time. San Fran would not have let him go. Miami would not have let him go and just let him sit on the bench. So I think Singletary be the lead guy. I think he's going to have a big year. And I think Zach Moss is going to run the ball very, very well. I think it's going to be a special year running the football. I'm real excited.
Absolutely. I think I'm with both you guys. I think the running game will definitely be improved this year with a defined scheme, improved blocking, competition on the interior. I think is a big thing also. So I think, with all those things culminating in I like the piece you brought up about, Brian Dable still being him. I am not against the run it when it's needed method. But I do think that the Bills definitely need to have more balance. I will say that. So I'm with both you guys. I think we had a great show today. I want to everybody to tell the people where they can find you and where they can interact with you, and then I'll talk about a new show that we have. So James and Travis, let the people know where they can find you and interact with you.
All right. So y'all can find me on Twitter at NFLJMal2. That's NFLJMAL2. Facebook, James Mallory. Instagram, JMal2, JMAL2. Hit me up. Got any questions? Want to talk football? Hey, I'm here, man. I'm here.
Trav.
Well, you definitely want to follow that guy. But if you want to talk to me,
right.
at Trav Blakesley on Twitter. And hopefully you'll see me more on the shows.
And I just wanted to say that you can find me at eDaniel77 on Twitter. I've been, talking to Bills Mafia all day. Matter of fact, for the last 2 days about the Julio Jones thing. So, I'm always here for all the hot topics and hot takes. So at eDaniel77, on Twitter, I am here for all your hot takes. But I want everyone to know about our new show that we have. It's going to be the debut of the Breaking Tables podcast that will be on our CFR network. It's going to be tomorrow night at 7:30, where we have one of our newest members going around to the different Bills backers bars and bringing it to us and showing it to us and showing how those experiences are going. So it's a new spin on it. It's a new podcast that we're going to have here. So we would love for you guys to tune in, give us your feedback. Tell us, what you love about it, what you hate about it, whatever. We just want to hear your feedback, and we would appreciate everyone who has tuned in, to this live and that always supports CFR. We appreciate, all the things that you guys done. So again, tune in to the Breaking Tables podcast tomorrow at 7:30, where we have one of our newest members who will go in to all the new Bills backers bars. And again, we have another show called Pressing Coverage with myself and Greg Bauscher. We're tackling all the hot topics in Bills Mafia. So maybe we'll tackle the Julio Jones thing again. So again, we appreciate everyone. Again, thank you for tuning in, and be on the lookout again for our next live, where we'll tackle another one of the Bills Mafia hot topics.